This is Nursing Uncensored. I'm your host, Adrianne Benning, and I invite you to listen in on conversations I've had with real nurses about the crazy and wonderful lives we lead. This podcast is meant to create laughter in addition to serious discussion, and nothing is off limits. We're always honest, but we're not always safe for work. Please listen responsibly. Welcome back to a special crash edition of Nursing Uncensored. I want to start by telling you guys a story. Monday, let's see, what day was it? Monday, August 10th, 2020. I got off work at like 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning. I come home, I go to bed, like middle of the day, around like 12:30, I wake up and there's a storm going on. I don't hear any thunder, but like I look out the window, it looks crazy. And Doug seems really kind of like nervous, pacing, talking about this storm. And I was so half asleep and was so tired that I was like, okay, well, you keep watch, and if anything gets unsafe, wake me up. I go back to sleep. I wake up several hours later and we have no electricity. It's like completely dark and there's no moon, so it's really dark. And Doug tells me that basically like hurricane force winds came through our part of the country. For those of you that don't know, Iowa just had a hurricane, only there was no twister. It's called a derecho, and what I remember from high school Spanish, that basically just means like straight. So there were straight winds that came from Nebraska all the way through Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and in Cedar Rapids, which is about 35 minutes north of where I live, 4 hours west of Chicago and half hour north. And they had, I think I read something that said the wind top speed got to about 120 miles an hour. These were sustained for like 30 minutes. And Cedar Rapids, which is like the next biggest city near where I live, covers like, I don't know, I think 72 square miles. It has like over 133,000 residents. And it was fucking destroyed. I at first thought like, oh, it's a lot of downed trees, power lines, but no, like the roofs blew off of entire apartment buildings. Hospitals are running on generator power. There's no emergency services because nobody can call 911 because there are no towers for any kind of phone communication. It wasn't as hot as it usually is, but it's really hot and people don't have electricity. Hospitals are being flooded with patients who don't have their oxygen concentrators running because they don't have electricity. People can't refrigerate their medications. There's all sorts of crazy shit going on in Cedar Rapids. And now it's being talked about in the media. We've got some relief coming through, although not as much as is needed. So I thought, I need to talk about this on the show. Those of you that follow me on social media, you know that I didn't release an episode last Monday because I had no power and no Wi-Fi until like yesterday, basically. I got really lucky. I live in a part of the area that, of course, down power lines, transformers blown, trees that were like huge, old, beautiful trees that were just ripped out of the ground by their roots. I encourage you to Google the Iowa derecho because the photos are unbelievable. I'm going to include some photos with the post that goes along with this episode. This was wind. This wasn't a tornado. Like when a tornado comes through, it's usually pretty random but specific. A tornado tears through town. It follows a path, takes out everything in its path, but it can jump. It can like jump, tear down one house, leave the next house standing. They're very random. This just blew the whole fucking city over. Damaged every school in the city right before school is supposed to start, which is a whole other issue because we're still in a pandemic. But it's been crazy. And so I wanted to come and talk to you guys about this because the media coverage has been minimal. I don't know. I've had a lot of people that I know that live outside of this area tell me they had no idea why do I have a platform if not to communicate things that are important to a large group of people, you guys? So I'm asking you to listen. I'm going to talk to 2 different nurses that I know. One of them lives and works in Cedar Rapids, and the other works in Iowa City, but lives in Cedar Rapids. Both of them are dealing with kind of the aftermath of this crazy ass windstorm that tore through. We're going to talk to first Jasmine and then Amy, both registered nurses. And afterwards, I'm going to ask you to pick an organization that you want to kick $5-10 to, whatever, or more if you want to do more. But I would love it if you can kick a little cash towards some of these organizations that are helping people with food, water, medications. Like, there are people literally living in tents in their basements or backyards. And that's, right here in the Midwest at the end of summer. So if you can kick a little cash their way, that would be great. If you can't, that's cool. I get it. Student life is rough. But if you got a little something, these people could really use some help. I pulled up an article here because I want to just mention a few other things. The wind that came through, like I said, Category 2 hurricane, but without any time to prepare. Basically, I think people got like half-hour notice that this was coming. So I'm looking at an article from the Washington Post, and in addition to basically every home and every business being damaged, they describe hour-long lines at gas stations, sold-out generators, and they're buying gas because they needed to power their generators, chainsaws, spotty cell service, gas leaks, power lines downed, spoiled food, no trash pickup, no air conditioning. I'm paraphrasing this article. Downtown bricks and glass litter the sidewalk, plate glass windows shattered during the storm. Many businesses physically destroyed. Restaurants lost their perishables. Factories closed. Office closed. The economy, the whole thing is stopped. We also lost, 43% of the state's corn and soybean crop. Local farms that I, choose to buy from through the farmer's market and otherwise suffered major damages, like lost entire crops that they had been working on and putting resources towards all summer. So that really sucks. And then our president came to Cedar Rapids, didn't leave the airport. I think I read, or Doug read and told me that he got off the plane, rode a vehicle to a hangar, hung out there for like 45 minutes, and then rode a vehicle back to the plane and left. He tweeted that that he was record speed approving aid, but none of the aid that was approved is for families who had their homes damaged, farmers who lost agricultural assets like grain, buildings. None of that's covered. So FEMA will be stepping in and figure out who's eligible to collect assistance for additional storm damages. So, yeah. Thank you for listening. Let's go and hear what Jasmine has to say.
Jasmine, welcome to Nursing Uncensored. This is a bit of an unconventional episode because you basically have just been in a natural disaster. So thank you for being willing to take time to talk to me. And also, we'll do the best we can with our connection. We are on the phone, so this is not video quality, but needs to be talked about. So do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
So my name's Jasmine. I am a RN BSN. I work at St. Luke's in Cedar Rapids. Definitely been an interesting time, what with pandemic going on, and now the city of Cedar Rapids has pretty much been blown over.
Yes, pretty literally destroyed. And this is not getting a ton of media coverage right now, which is why I wanted to talk to someone so quickly that I can spread this message and share some resources for people to contribute. Because you guys had 85 to 100 mile an hour winds blow right through a large city in the southeast corner of Iowa. So you guys are 4.5 hours west of Chicago. I'm a little south of you. we didn't get it quite so bad, but you guys are what? You're like running on generators, no electricity, no phone service, like trees and lines down everywhere, like homes damaged, businesses damaged. What sort of things are you seeing up there?
So the day of the storm, I was actually sleeping because, I had to go to work that night, and it was like noon. All of a sudden, like, this wind wakes me up, and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to, wake up. But it sounded so serious. I was like, oh, well, I better, get up, see what's happening, get all the animals to the basement. Thankfully, my boyfriend had just come home for lunch at that time, so we were all able to gather, get to a safe spot, and, after everything blew through, we were able to assess the damage. There's a bunch of, trees blocking our way, so it's like, well, am I going to be able to make it to work tonight? Which, thankfully, there's some neighbors with chainsaws, and I was able to make it to work that night. Actually, our Surgicare at St. Luke's had been damaged in the storm, so since that day, we have not been doing any elective surgeries. I know the emergency room has been, complete chaos. We were, for the first few days, running on generator power. So there was paper charting, which was so fun. And then also, just the volume of people that were coming in and, needing support. And I think at one point there was only a few beds left in med-surg. There was 3 nights last week that our unit was full. They've also opened up what was previously our LTAC unit up for people who needed oxygen support. So patients who chronically use oxygen at home, their canisters were running out. And so they were coming in and they just decided, well, instead of, sending you out and then you have to keep coming back in and getting your oxygen filled, and who knows, how your transport's going to be. Well, why don't you just stay here and, we make sure that you have what you need. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big safety issue for people. People who have refrigerated medications, oxygen sensors, any kind of, and basic electric beds, anything that runs on power, you guys have basically been without. And paper charting, we all know what a nightmare that is. There are some people that still do paper charting, but when you're not used to it, it's nerve-wracking, not only because it's a different way of doing things, but I worry about aspects of it. Am I doing this correctly? Am I including the things that I'm including? Are you guys back on, do you have power again at the hospital, or are you still on generators?
We actually, we do have power back. We do have Epic back, which has been a huge relief. Yeah, the thing about the paper charting that was most worrisome to me was the first few nights, at least on my unit that I work on, we were short-staffed. So I had 8 patients. So it's trying to keep all these papers straight for 8 people. It's definitely a challenge. You had to come up with a system right quick.
Have patients an understanding of the fact that you got 8 bodies to keep up with, all needing things, all because what a lot of people don't realize is our electronic charting systems, those are that's a safety mechanism, because if you say you pull up, the wrong patient and you scan that patient's barcode, it's going to tell you, oh, wait, whoa, don't give that med. You've got the wrong patient. is this what you're trying to do? And so without that level of safety, I imagine that's you got to 8 people. I mean, I can't, I can't imagine just trying to keep all of that straight.
I mean, there's definitely, patients that were pushing back. I mean, otherwise, I felt we all worked together. We all pulled together. We all, tried to make it work as best we could. And we all had, our different methods of, keeping everything straight. And, as far as I've seen, at least, I feel like that happened. Well, and then the biggest thing was when we got Epic back, all of the patients that were still bedded, we had to go back and back chart all of their medications that we had passed.
What a nightmare.
So it's definitely a challenge.
Are there things that you would like people outside of the area that you live in, outside of, because there were various different parts of Iowa that were really badly damaged. You guys got walloped because unlike we get hurricane force winds, but when people are used to hurricanes, they get time to prepare. This, you guys had you were asleep. I slept through it too. It was bad here, but it wasn't as bad as you guys got. But you gotta get to work. And when you have no preparation, you have no planning, having an entire city just straight up blown, trees were blown up out of the ground from the roots.
Oh yeah.
I know that media coverage has not really been covering this. So the reason I wanted to talk about this and talk to you is so that I can really tell people hey, this is what you firsthand are seeing. And it's been really, really bad. You told me before we started recording that you're running on generators still at your home, right?
Yes.
Trying to get ready for work in the dark, and it's frustrating. Shower by candlelight.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been interesting. Yeah, showering in the dark, showering with flashlights. Yeah, like I said, I'm sitting in a tent in my basement that we set up so, we'd have at least, a cool, dark place. This was before we actually got the generator and, had a few warmer days going on. So that was nice. You said that people are out there with chainsaws and helping clear the trees from the streets. Do people seem to be also trying to keep the pandemic in mind, wearing masks, trying to keep distance if possible? What are you seeing there? I have seen people still wear their masks and all that and, being conscious. The day of the storm, we were kind of going around and trying to get some initial stuff out of the street. And one of our neighbors, she did come out and say, remember you guys, there is a pandemic still going on. Because, we were not wearing masks at that point. We were just kind of out there oh my God, look at all this. What the heck? I feel it's kind of 50-50. I have seen, people masked up and being conscious. But yeah, I've also seen, people without masks, which, is not that much different than it was before.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important that we, remind people there is still a pandemic. So even in a disaster, even more so, you don't get sick in a disaster because resources are already strained. Well, I want to really thank you for talking to me. I want to be really respectful of your time and your battery power. So I'm going to conclude this episode with a little bit more information about how people can donate, help with relief and cleanup efforts. Is there anything else you'd like to share or add before you get back to making this work?
Well, I definitely say I feel like there has been a lot of, community coming together and, we're all taking care of each other the best we can. I know there's the Catherine McCauley Center up here. If you go on the Lynn County Emergency Management, their Facebook page, they had a list of community centers that they've set up. And yeah, just, looking out for, ways to help up here and get stuff cleaned up, get everyone the stuff that they need.
Yeah. And check in on your neighbors, guys. If you're in the Cedar Rapids area or in Lynn County and you have resources, help out the people around you. Jasmine, if you need anything, I got you. And I didn't mention this. I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show. We know each other because we actually took a bunch of nursing school classes together. So
yes.
It's nice to hear your voice again. I wish it weren't over this. I wish to talk to you again time when you're not in the middle of a disaster.
Yeah, this is true. It all works out.
Stay strong. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Yes, thank you. All
right, I'll talk to you.
Have a good rest of your day.
Talk to you too. Sleep well. Welcome, Amy. Amy, you're my friend and my coworker. Would you like to take just a minute and introduce yourself to podcast listeners?
Yes. First of all, I'm Amy Julian. I am a nurse at the university that I work with you. I'm a float nurse. I have been a nurse for going on 21 years now. At the university for 11. With being a float nurse, I've gone from everywhere from the ER to med psych to ICUs to PACU, post anesthesia care unit. I've pretty much been everywhere in the hospital except mother baby.
It's been like a huge source of like information and expertise for me. Like you've even been in like rapid responses with me where I've been like happy you're there to like help me advocate and speak up. So I love working with you. I'll just say that right off the bat.
I love it too.
So even though I'm kind of fangirling on you, we are here to talk about a more difficult, unfortunate, sad, messed up topic. So you're a resident of Cedar Rapids, and
yes.
As we've been talking about earlier in this episode, Cedar Rapids was basically hit by like a straight-wing hurricane that ripped things apart, like really fucking destroyed the city. So I would like you to just take a minute and kind of describe what you've been seeing, like your own home and then kind of what you're seeing in your neighborhood.
The day of the storm, I was home alone with my 10-year-old and our dog. We had just been playing outside. It was a beautiful day before it happened. It was getting quite humid. We had just come in for lunch and we heard the sirens going off outside. And the first thought in my mind was it Wednesday, because they do the sirens the first Wednesday of every month. And clearly it wasn't Wednesday. So then that would throw me off too. Yeah. So then I got out my phone and looked on the weather app, and sure enough, it said that severe weather was coming. So Zarin, my 10-year-old, asked if we needed to get in the basement. I said, oh, not yet. Let's just see what happens. And then next thing I know, there is things flying in front of the window. I swear it was just like 30 seconds. It was nothing, and then it was everything.
Oh my God.
We lost power, and I just told him, get in the basement. And basically I grabbed him and the dog and rushed him downstairs in the basement. Of course, we had no power, so then we're down there in this pitch black. So then I had to run upstairs and get some candles and stuff, and that scared my son. He didn't want me to go back upstairs. He thought I wasn't ever going to come back down. But him and I rode out the storm in the basement. We did have some flooding down there, so we had to throw all of the dirty laundry on the floor and stop all that up. So thankfully we had towels down there, but towels and dirty laundry and everything had to soak up all the water. I think we were in the basement about 30, 40 minutes before the storm blew over, and we felt safe enough to get upstairs. And then just coming upstairs and seeing the destruction was really horrible the first time. And then my first thought after that was just, how am I going to get Zarin out of there and get him to safety? And the phone lines were still working somehow. I don't know how. But I was able to call my mom, and she met me halfway, and I took him, and she took him she still has him. So mom still has Zarin, and then my stepdaughters live in Waterloo, and thank God they were not there at the time, because the tree landed on their side of the house, like right over their bedroom.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and both of the girls, especially Helena, have anxiety about stuff anyway. So if they would have been there, I don't know. They would have really, really, really been anxious and scared and stuff. So,
that's scary for adults, let alone when you're a kid and you feel like your house is literally falling in on you.
Right. So I think if they would have been there, they just worked each other up more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I got mom to take Zarin, and then we've just been dealing with this since then. We're on day, what is this? This is Monday. So,
yeah, so it's been a full week.
Yeah, full week now with no power. We just got the tree off our house yesterday. No, that's a lie. Saturday.
Was it a local company, or was it a company that came in from out of state?
No, I actually got lucky, and Xavier, my husband, has a cousin in Waterloo that knew a guy that has a tree service. Nice. So I know. So I just kind of put it out there on social media that we were asking for help, and Nicole got a hold of me right away and said that she knew a tree guy, and he was licensed and bonded, and then he came down the next day. So I think it was Friday, her and I communicated, and then Saturday they came down and got the tree off the house.
Yeah, and so I've been to your house. That tree is huge.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
The tree, the whole thing didn't fall on the house. It was just this huge branch that came down. which thank God, because so many people lost their whole trees and so much more. But they said that while they were taking that tree down, the tree service guys said that was 3,000 pounds of pressure on our roof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've got a dented roof. Our garage door blew out of the back. We have some bent warp siding, but all of our stuff is like fixable, repairable, you know. Our block has the power lines running right down the middle of everybody's yard, and then everybody has fences in our yard. So they're having a struggle getting the stuff back there because they've had to remove additional trees that weren't even blown out in the storm, and they've had to remove fences and stuff like that and dig for these new poles. They're working hard and they're busy.
And this is like the majority of the city, if not all of the city is like this.
Yes, yeah. Well, I've talked to people from Marion all the way, you know, down past the southwest side of town, over even out to Eli by the airport, and people are just as bad as the next, or worse. Courtney, her whole tree in her backyard landed on her house, a walnut tree, and it was huge. The way that it cracked her foundation, I think they're going to condemn her house.
Oh, man.
So we are fortunate. We were loaned a generator, so we've been keeping the fridge cold. I think that was 3 or 4 days in that we got the generator. So before that, we were just keeping everything on ice. So that was, you know, running to the store all the time for ice. And then the city was running out of ice. Then we got the generator. So that was cool from my husband's uncle.
You guys have street lights, like businesses open. Like what? Because I know you're kind of on the south side, so you don't have to drive through like all of town.
No, I do drive through all of town. I'm on the northeast. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was mistaken.
Well, you know Cedar Rapids so well.
Well, I've been up there a handful of times, and it's usually following my GPS.
No, it's all good.
But yeah, I've heard that it's just kind of like there was so much damage and so many trees and lines were down that by sheer number of lines to repair, that they just don't have enough people. And so I've heard of some businesses that have been coming from out of state and helping people get the trees off their houses and off their cars. And like, I'm going to include some photos in the blog post for this episode, but like literal massive trees have been pulled out of the ground by their roots, like push the concrete out of the way and just rose right up.
Hundreds. I've seen hundreds of them. There's a yard behind us on the next block down that has huge trees in their front yard. And not only did the two trees uproot, it uprooted the whole yard. Oh, God. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
It's really weird. It's very bizarre, the real shit.
It's so, it is. Yeah, it's so crazy. But no, back to your question about the lights. The street lights started coming on last night, but again, that's kind of piece parted together because some of the lights are like bent off or gone. So sometimes, you know, you'll be at one and it's a perfectly running stoplight, and then the next one, it's completely dark and there's no lights or flashing lights or anything, and people are running them, not seeing them. There's been a ton of accidents and stuff post-storm.
Yeah, it's I haven't seen accidents down here, but we've had like intermittent lights that just like they're not even blinking like they do when the power's out. They're just like nothing.
Dead. Yeah.
And it's really weird because like one of the main intersections by the hospital had like, it was like, it's like 8 lanes in, all directions, but just, everybody has to kind of govern themselves. So how has this affected your working, like your to and from work? Because you live 30 minutes away from where you work and you work 12-hour shifts. You got all this shit going on. So like, what are some things that you've been doing to get through this?
Just pure insanity, crazy power through. I don't know. I did have a meltdown day on Thursday because I drove to work with the gas cans in my truck, the gas for the generator, and also left my work shoes at home. So I know. So I drove all the way to work and then had to turn around and go back home and then turn around and go all the way back to work. So that was like an hour and a half, 45 minutes just doing all that. And then I had to work. So that was a hard, your mind is in so many places, Yeah. So I always take my work shoes off in the garage. For a couple of days, I couldn't find one shoe. Well, then we found the pair.
It is. Oh my God.
Yeah, then we found the pair of them, and then I set them out on the busted up grill top to dry out, and so they're back to be in my shoes. But yeah, it's been a lot of stress. Thankfully, we have the basement now. It's all dried out. It's cooler down there. But yeah, there's been so many people. We have an older gentleman and couple that live on our same street. They've got to be over 90. And first day after the storm, this old man is out there trying to clean up his yard, and he took a fall. I ran over there, and another guy ran over there. And
oh, you're kind of cutting up a little bit. Oh no, she's driving. So let's see if we get her back. I'll give it a minute.
Here, try again.
Yeah, here we go. So anyway, dude falls.
Okay, we ran down there, picked him up, I assessed him. He had a cut on his wrist from trying to catch himself. And, of course, he's on blood thinners. So got him bandaged up and got him back in the house and told him to sit down and that we would do his yard. Everybody shifted from their yards, and we all ran over and collectively picked up his yard so he wouldn't be out there doing stuff. Yeah, it's all kind of a community effort. I've met more people in my neighborhood than I have in the last 4 years of living there. So,
you know, it's both a shame and a good thing that people come together during disasters. Like, obviously, you wish that it was like this all the time, but it's really nice to know that when it really fucking matters, that people will show up for you.
Well, and the line guys, you know, I've talked to guys from New York and Michigan, and they've both said that, you know, they came from the storm out east directly after that to come here, and they said, I'll tell you what, there's a big difference between those New Yorkers and here. You guys are so much more helpful. You guys are, you know, there's something to be said for that Iowa nice. It's, you know, like, yeah, so.
It's good. It's good that Iowans are, you know, we're pretty tough. This was a bad storm, but, like, people are already, like, trying to put things back together.
Right. Everybody's helping out a lot, yeah.
And I'm glad that you're kind of getting your house back together. I know you had a gas leak, or not a gas leak, you had a gas pipe damage, or a gas line damage, so you didn't have hot water for a while there. Oh, tell us about how Xavier hooks up your hot bath for you. Oh, shit, are you still there? I don't know if I'll get her back because she's almost home. Nope, I lost her. But she was telling me that her husband started a fire on the grill, heated up water, carried it up the stairs so that she could have a hot bath after her long shift. Yeah, gotta stick together. So thanks to Amy, even though I lost her, she was driving, but, you know, there's a lot going on, and I appreciate her time. So thank you, Amy, and we'll talk again soon.
Now that you've heard from Amy and Jasmine, you know a little bit of what people are going through here in Cedar Rapids. Of course, these are only two experiences, and there are a lot of people that are a lot worse off, and there are a lot of people that are a lot better off, like me, who finally, after I think 11 days, I have Wi-Fi back. We got electricity back after I think like 4.5 days. I'm very lucky and blessed, and trying to send some money towards organizations that are helping people that were not so lucky. So if you're listening to this on the road, in the car, on your headphones, while you're doing whatever it is you need to be doing, that's cool. If you later want to get to these resources that I'm about to talk about, you can just go to nursinguncensored.com. You know the website. I spend a lot of time on this website, guys. Take a peek at it. But there's a list of resources where you can see what people need and where you can send money, or if you're in the area, where you can drop off supplies. I'm going to link all these things in the post that goes along with this episode. And I want to remind people that you can also Google all of these things and get to them as well. Urgent needs in Cedar Rapids right now, according to an article in the Cedar Rapids Gazette, is that they need ice, tarps, flashlights, coolers, charcoal, non-perishable foods. I know there are a lot of organizations and churches that are also asking for like diapers, pet food. There are organizations that are trying to help people get these things. There is the Iowa Derecho Storm resource page on Facebook. Sign up and volunteer. You can also drop off donations at Lynn County Public Health. They are in need of donations and people to actually distribute the supplies. There's also HACAP, HACAP. You can also donate to the United Way of East Central Iowa, the Greater Cedar Rapids Community Foundation, the Marion Chamber Foundation, and the Red Cross. Iowans are strong. There are private citizens that are pulling their grills out, cooking for the community, helping people that are old or maybe disabled, have a difficult time getting around. But there are still a lot of people that are suffering. And this is not going to be fixed magically. Like every tree basically either got top chopped off or was ripped up from the ground. So it's taking a long time to get things repaired. And so any help you can give would be really, really, really appreciated by people that have been in this terrible storm. If you do make a donation, please screenshot your receipt, send it to me either at nursinguncensoredpodcast@gmail.com or through Instagram, and I will give you a shout out and send you a sticker, a Nursing Uncensored sticker. So if you want a little free swag, make a donation of any amount. That's it. Thank you for listening. I'm going to try to get back on track for a regular episode next Monday, but let's see. I lost a lot of time that I would have spent editing, so I'm going to work on it. I will see you guys very soon. Thanks for all your support, and happy nursing. Here at Nursing Uncensored, we may be, uncensored, but we're not unfiltered. Protected health information has been changed and concealed to comply with HIPAA. The things we talk about are from years of experience with thousands of patients, things we've read, stories we've heard. If you think we're talking about you, we're definitely not. Also, we're real nurses here to provide helpful and accurate information. But don't take anything we say as fact without doing your own research. Refer to your state's Board of Nursing, Practice Acts, and your institution's policies and procedures if you have questions about your practice. Lastly, our very strong opinions are ours alone and do not reflect those of our employers, educational, or professional institutions. Thanks for listening, and happy nursing, folks.